Yay, finally. So sorry, guys, if you were here at 1100 hours, you missed me, but I'm here now. Here now. Better late than never. I don't like to be late, but I am here now, and we are on week 2 of UOU. Just in case you're new to the group, we are talking about Dr. Eric Thomas's book, For the Foreseeable Future. We just finished Dr. Hardy's book, and one of the things that I wanted to mention about Dr. Hardy's book, for several weeks, we did 7 weeks, um, um, Be Your Future Self Now. We talked about the threats that prevent us from doing that. And then we went into 7 truths, of being your future self now. Then we talked about the steps. There were about 7 steps, so about 21 weeks, maybe 23, because I think I had a couple of snafus during that time, but we did approximately 21 weeks through each of his chapters. We did 1 chapter a week. So we finished that. What I'm going to do is, because I'm now, I ordered his next book, which is called Rapid Transformation. And when you order that book, you get to go through his training for free. So I'm going to place that information in the comment section. I'll post that after today's session, so that if you guys want to avail yourself to purchasing the book, and then he actually trains on the book. And so instead of you getting the breadcrumbs from me, you get the original training from the author. Dr. Benjamin Hardy is an organizational psychologist, and he is fantastic and brilliant. So I highly recommend not only his book, Be Your Future Self Now, which is what we covered over the last few weeks or months, but his new book, Rapid Transformation, is not coming out until October. So I talk a lot about some of the principles that he teaches in terms of being your future self now, past, present, and future, and how where we are right now, our present. He explains that we frame our present based on our past, rather than using our past experiences, no matter how devastating it may have been, to help us learn and grow. So don't look at it as a loss or a failure, but look at it as a learning opportunity, which is what I've tried to do with all the different adversities that I've had in my life, is look at them as learning opportunities. And without all of those things that happen to me, I wouldn't be where I am right now. So it's it's pretty deep, but it's really fantastic because it really helps to shift your thinking and how you look at what happened to you in the past. Because many of us will look at what happened to us in the past, and then we, by virtue of that, make ourselves victims. And we'll talk about victimization and victimhood, because Dr. Eric Thomas also talks about that. And so I'm going to cover that in our chat today. So let me find my information here that I want to share with you today. And if you are new, I will go through and do just a brief overview, but essentially we're talking about you're really in charge of you. Let's see here. Let me find. Oh, okay, here it is. All right, so we're in chapter, is it chapter 1, chapter 2? This is chapter 2. No, this is chapter 1. It's you versus you. So this is really, it's the book. I just shared, what did I do with the book? The book looks more intimidating than it is. Really easy to read book. So don't let that intimidate you. Ease message throughout the book really is that it's you are the only one who can control your life, right? You kind of set your sail and you walk your path and you get along with God to discover your call and your purpose in your life. You are the only one who can be in charge of your life. And so last week we talked about defining what success looks like for you. And we talked a little bit about finding a purpose, and I kind of walked through even my profession for the last two decades and how I actually ended up in human resources. Human resources wasn't my first career. I actually fell into my first career by default and just progressed from there, and then made the conscious decision to, in my 40s, no less, to go through, um, self-imposed, I won't say poverty, but I quit my job to go back to school in my mid 40s so that I could actually go into human resources, which is what I wanted to do. I was going to really end up being a teacher. And then I realized I probably wouldn't be a good teacher with kids. So I did teach at the college level for a few years, but this is what I enjoy doing, and I work in human resources. So I went through all of the exercises, trying to discover what it is I wanted to do, finding out my why. And we talked a little bit about that. I also asked you guys last week to look up your name. Look up your name and see what it means and see if it resonates with you. And I looked up my name, and my name literally means defender and helper of mankind. And that really fits me. It fits who I am, which is one of the reasons why I went into HR, is because I wanted to really be able to make not an impact on just a small group of people that I led, or an office that I managed, but I really wanted to make a bigger impact on an organization. And when you're in human resources, and it really doesn't matter what level you are, you have the opportunity to do that. And then finding out your why. We talked about capacity. Some people have a quarter way full of capacity, halfway, 3/4 of the way. We talked about no matter what your capacity is, to fully max out your gift, right? You may not be able to do what some celebrities may do, or write a New York Times bestseller, but you can do what God has called you to do, right? And so we talked a little bit about that. What will it take for you to kind of max out your capacity? And in order to really do that, it really does take personal growth. One of the things that I think I've learned over the years, and how I actually got to where I am right now, I would consider myself pretty successful at this level. I didn't think I was, and I'll tell you, I'd never thought that until I sat in on an interview, and the gentleman that was sitting across from me interviewing me, there were several people, and he looked at my credentials and he said, wow, looking at everything that you've done, he was like, you've been pretty successful in your role. And that's when it hit me. And I'm in my 60s and I have done a lot of things. I just never thought that, I don't think that I would have quantified it as successful. But I have. When I look back over my life and where I am right now, God has brought me, as they would say, from a mighty, mighty, mighty long way. So what what will it take for you to max out your capacity? And it's going to take personal growth. I said last week that readers are leaders and learners are earners, and setting personal goals, improving communication, um, having those key performance indicators, learning new skills, presenting, speaking, writing. If you want to go back to school, it doesn't matter how old you are. I was 54 when I think I was 54 when I finished my master's degree, or maybe when I started I think I was in my 50s. I was in my 50s when I started my master's degree program and finished it. So I'm saying that to you to say that it's never too late. And when you prepare yourself, whether it's through reading, using YouTube, going to seminars or webinars, when opportunities present themselves, then all you need to do is put yourself before that opportunity and the doors will open. So if you can't afford to take a class, I'm going to tell you, y'all, YouTube is free. and it erases every excuse in the book. If you don't know how to do something, I think I mentioned last week, a coworker who bought a home. She didn't buy a new home. She had hardwood floors in this older home, and it was older. And she went to YouTube, followed the instructions on YouTube, and refinished her hardwood floors, and it looked like something out of HGTV. So YouTube erases all the excuses that you might have that I can't learn, I can't afford to go to school. And I'm still learning, I'm still putting myself out there and messing it up along the way. This morning is a prime example. It took me almost 10 minutes to figure this whole go live thing. I still haven't figured it out because you guys are not going to see my slides today because YouTube, not YouTube, but Facebook will not, for whatever reason, allow me to show you the slides. So I'm going to probably re-record this myself, and then I'll just upload the recording. So that's kind of what we talked about last week. The entire point of setting goals and creating a path for yourself is so that you can become better, right? You may not even necessarily get to the goal. If your goal is to earn $500,000 a year, maybe you'll get to $300,000 a year. Doesn't mean that you failed, but you certainly will be better at striving for the 500,000 and getting to the 300,000 than where you are right now. Your future self, Dr. Hardy says, will always be better than your current self. All right, so let's just kind of dive into what we're going to talk about today. So really, we're just going to talk about You Owe You by Dr. Eric Thomas. And for those of you who, if you are new, you know who I am. I'm Sandra Lee Branch. I am a spiritual life coach. I help mostly women who are frustrated or unfulfilled, maybe at work, or maybe just lacking purpose and direction in your life. Maybe you're an empty nester. Kids are all gone and gone, and you're trying to figure out like where you are in life and still not feeling fulfilled. And maybe you're stuck trying to identify your purpose. And I think I'm pretty good at helping people to really kind of think through their skill sets, what they've done in life, and really what it is that might resonate with you. And for me, this is important because at one point, I really know what it's like to kind of be this wandering generality. And Zig Ziglar coined that term. He was a favorite thought leader of mine, still is, but really just not even having a defined goal or path for my life. And so one of the things that I'm really passionate about is wanting to help other people to get to where it is you want to be in life, your dream destination. And I will say where I am right now, like, God has really blessed me for where I am right now. So I want to help you to tap into your God-given potential and leverage your faith-based principles to overcome whatever challenges you might have. And I always say life is 50-50. It's going to be 50% good, 50% not good. That's just the way it is. Jesus said, in this world, you'll have tribulation, but be of good cheer. I have overcome the world. And so when we hang on to that, it doesn't matter what you go through, we can do hard any day of the week. And so I want to be able to help you find peace and live a purposeful and meaningful life aligned with your own core belief. And finally, I'll say this. I believe that when we rise by lifting others up. And so the work that I do and that I endeavor to do, this is a labor of love for me, is to do work that is redemptive in nature to help other people. It's not about making money, because obviously I'm not charging for this. And plus I am, leveraging other material that I've learned, and this is really also helping me to continue to learn and grow when I'm able to share with other people. So there's that. So you're the only one who can really change your life. And the first part of the book, after each chapter, there is work and a challenge. And so last week I gave you the question. So before we delve into the book, I gave you questions. What was your last challenge you faced in your life? And it can be big or small. And these are some of the questions that are in the book. not necessarily worded exactly the same way. I've kind of modified it a little bit just based on my own experience, but what was your initial thought and what do you instinctively do when you have challenge? So those were some of the questions that I asked you last week. And the challenge really is to think ahead and foresee a challenge that might be coming your way, and then thinking about how you might handle that and the possibilities of what it would look like if you took control. And might your um, how you handle that challenge, how might it impact the outcome, the results of what you're trying to do? So we all have challenges, and rather than reacting to that challenge, we want to be able to think through it and respond. So one of the things, I can't remember who taught this years ago, but the difference between a reaction and responding. So many of us have taken medications, whether it was just an aspirin or maintenance type of prescription, but many times the doctor will look or even ask you, after you've taken a certain medication, you know, did you have any reaction? Because if you have a reaction, that's kind of negative. But if you're responding to the medication, then that's positive. So you always want to be able to think through whatever challenges you have, and rather than react, which is not good, you want to be able to respond so that you are getting the outcome that you might be seeking. So our past, our present, and our future, and I talked a little bit about this, family dynamics, and our past can impact our present, and our future impacts our present. And Dr. Hardy talks about our past and our future are really just tools. They're timelines, but they're tools. And so we think about what is it that you might be holding on to that's keeping you from envisioning your future. Many of us, present company included, used to look at our upbringing and blame our life circumstances for where we are in life. And in E's book, UOU, he talks a lot about his upbringing. And I can look back now and realize that I could like lift myself out of the place that I was, and have this mindset, hold on to the mindset that I, had back then. If I did that, then I wouldn't be where I am right now. So in other words, where I was in my level of thinking could not get me here to where I am right now. And what I experienced, and many of you guys know my background with the drug addiction, it exposed me to people who were at least 10 steps ahead of me, even though we were all going through the same 12-step program. Because believe it or not, it doesn't matter what your status is in life. All of us encounter life in different ways and fashions. And so when I went through this 12-step program, there were doctors, there were lawyers, there were people who were, when I say 10 steps ahead of me, they were highly educated, but they had run into this particular obstacle, and we were all in the same place in this particular time because we were all trying to fight the addiction that had taken hold of our lives and made us feel powerless. And so having gone through that, it placed me in a circle where I was just around a lot of educated and self-accomplished individuals who, again, like all of us, had problems and chose to deal with it. We all chose to deal with it in a similar fashion, and that was using mood-altering substances. My point is, sometimes situations and circumstances will place us in places where we have no choice but to either die in place or regrow, and I chose growth. I knew that when I left the home that my then husband and I had purchased, and I went into that rehab, I knew when I left that day that I would never return back to that home. I just knew that. I knew it with every fiber in me. I didn't know it then, but getting married and moving into that house and hanging with the people who introduced me to that way of life was happening for me, not to me. And so E says when we're on the road to success, we cannot afford to make excuses. He talks again about in this chapter, his mom getting married again when he was a baby. And so his stepfather became his father, the only father he knew, but he had questions and later found out that the only father he knew who loved him and raised him was not his biological father. And not to give away the entire complete story, because you really need to buy the book and read it. It's a fantastic book and it's his testimony. But he finally came to the conclusion that we cannot forever continue to blame our parents and our past for where we are in our lives. I'm 64 and a half years old right now, old enough to know that we all encounter life situations. And I'm not sure what my mom went through when she was a girl. I would not ever blame her for where I ended up in 1988 in drug infested places, you know, doing the things that I was doing and all the decisions that I made at 28 years of age were mine to take responsibility and to be accountable for and to take ownership of those decisions. So I'm saying that if you had a past, no matter what happened to you, we can't blame the people in our past and our parents. And I'll tell you, when I was in the 12-step program, and I would go to a lot of the meetings, a lot of the leads, people came to the conclusion that they could no longer blame their parents or the people who may have raised them if they were in foster care or adopted or whatever the case may be. Many of them would say they came to the conclusion that it was not the fault of the people who raised them. So while I did not go back to that home that I lived on in Dayton on Arlene Drive, I'm moving in with my mom at that time was simply, for me, it was a geographical move, right? I had to change me. I had to change my mindset. I had to have a paradigm shift in my thinking. And that's what I worked on doing. So I did go to the meetings, I read the books, I got around others who were also aspiring to lift their own lives up and to get out of what I would call that miry clay. So our past and our current and our future, our past and our future are tools, as Dr. Hardy says. I can look at my past and where I was and see that it worked out for me. I learned, I grew, and I apply that to where I am now. And when I look at my future and where I want to go, then I can take the steps, do the learnings, read the books, and walk in that vision right now so that I become the person that I'm trying to be. So I talked a little about victimhood last week, victimhood mentality, and Dr. Eric Thomas addresses this in this chapter as well. Initially, during the whole drug scene, I was choosing to be a victim initially in my circumstances. You know, I chose to smoke a crack pipe. I chose to spend my money recklessly. I can't even blame my ex for that. We were both grown. I thought at one time it was his fault, but that meant if he was to blame, then that meant I had no agency or control to shift my life from where I was to where I wanted to be. And so last week I talked about being the victim of race because I am a female, African American. For me, it was because it wasn't about any of those things. I never even thought about those things. For me, my victimhood was not smart enough, not educated. I mean, I had a litany of reasons for being where I was in my life at that time. And I remember being in group during the whole, I went into rehab for 30 days. And so every day you're on a daily routine. You get up at 6, you take your shower, you go eat breakfast, you do a daily devotional. And I actually still do that, a daily devotional and journal to this day. And it's probably been it's been a long time. But I remember going to group after I, started my morning routine. And in the group, you're sitting in a circle with a counselor and you're talking about your progression and how you got to where you are. And I remember not sharing, and the group pointed out that I was defensive, and of course I was defensive, so I defended my reason for not sharing, and I didn't share because I just thought no one needs to know my business. I'm private, and that was my mindset. And I felt like I was a victim of my circumstances. That was my mindset. And there's no virtue in victimhood. Victimhood is this attitude that others did this to me, or others did this to you, and it makes you feel a certain kind of way, and other people are holding you back. And excuses can go on and on. But when we blame the world, we blame our teachers, our childhood, our parents, our circumstances, our siblings, our color, our age, our gender, we totally give over our power to someone else. We are saying when we say it's because I was Black, it was because I'm a female, it's because I'm 40, or it's because I'm 50, we are saying we are helpless and we have absolutely no control, no agency over our own lives. And for me, it's taken a lot of years to realize that's a lie. I know it's a lie. I know it's a lie today because I just got a new job at 64 years old. So I can't say it was because I'm Black. I can't say it's because I'm a woman. I can't say it because I'm in my 60s. East states that when we begin to take control over our own lives, we eventually find out that we do have control to change our lives by changing our mindset. And rather than becoming whiny and a victim, we become this powerful victor. So what I would say to you, if you've ever felt that way, because I know what it feels like, you have to shift your mindset. And especially if you are a Christian, the Bible is very clear that there's nothing that you can't do if you rely on the Lord. So that's my foundation. And if that's your foundation, then victimhood, can't be part of your vernacular. You have to remove that from your mentality. When we attribute our feelings, whether they are feelings of irritation, anger, disgust, frustration, happy, loving, motivated, determined, it's because of our own mindset. It's because of the thoughts that we're having in our own brain. No one, and I mean no one, can make you feel any kind of way unless you allow it, right? So I'll take love, for example, because my husband makes me feel love, but that is because my thinking is he loves me. And so I feel love because not only because I think it, but also because he shows it too. So, but when we feel angry or upset and say it's because of what, someone said to me or how they spoke to me, and listen, I'm human, and I have felt this way too. Somebody has said something that brought me to tears and made me feel like I was a victim. We're human. But when we become mindful of it and we take a step back and we become aware of it, then we can change how we're thinking. So feelings are coming because of the thoughts about what someone has said to you or how it was said. And it was the thought behind the comment, not necessarily the sentence, the thought that you had that made you feel whatever it was you felt. Maybe it was anger. The way to change the feelings that maybe it's anger is to change the thought you had about what was said. How do you do that to yourself? Let's just say we'll call this person's name James. That's just James. It's a sentence that came out of his mouth. It has no power. It means nothing. You say to yourself about James or anyone who says anything, they have a right to be wrong. Allow people to be wrong about you. It's okay. It's their sentence. It's their thinking. And when you try to correct what people think or say about you, then you're trying to control them like they're trying to control you if they're trying to get you to change your mind. So just leave them be. You know, I worked in the field of DEI for a long time. DEI stands for diversity, equity, and inclusion. And one of the things that was very common in our discussion is you cannot legislate hearts and minds, right? You can't change people's thoughts and you can't change how they feel. Now, in a workplace, if people are doing something that's unethical or in violation of a law, then you can address it through that avenue. But if you're just trying to get people to treat other people with dignity and respect, it's very hard to regulate their hearts. So you can make them act a certain way when they're in an organization because the laws will support you in that. But to just get them to like you or to feel a certain kind of way about you that's favorable to you, that's very difficult to be. So just leave them be and allow people to be wrong about you. When you let go of being the victim and take agency over your own life, you then become what he says, and a lot of people have used this term, the CEO of YOU. He says there's absolutely no part of your life that will become successful if you are not willing to take responsibility for your own action, your own decisions. You are the only person that you can change. And the only person you would be working against is yourself. It is you versus you. And once you realize that and wake up to that fact, then you can change the pattern of your thinking, which will also change the direction of your life. And I am social proof of that. When you change your thinking, you can change the direction of your life. Change the way you see life, and the way you see life will change. So again, you are the CEO of you. Look in the mirror. Look in the mirror. That is your competition. It is you versus you. You literally have to overcome yourself and become the chief executive officer of you, CEO of YOU. So let's look at some things that you can do. Here are some steps. Here are some steps that he shares that will help us to get out of our own way. So take ownership of yourself. Make and own your own decisions. What is your benchmark? Set your own standard and stop with the excuses. All right. So when you take ownership of yourself, we seem to want to hold other people accountable for being late or not, letting you merge into traffic. And here's what I think can help us when we are in traffic. I'm on the road every single day. So I see people being just plain rude. Somebody's trying to like get over into the next lane. People will speed up. But when people speed up and not let me in, I get in anyway. And here's what I do. I wave. I go, thank you. Kill them with kindness. And if you are someone who has the opportunity to allow somebody to merge over in front of you, be a leader and let them come over. Make and own your own decisions. Crap happens and life will come at you fast, as Nationwide says. Life comes at you fast. In 2019, my mom passed away. 4 months later, my husband filed for divorce. I still had the house, money was short, and I still had to pay him $600 a month for spousal support. And I'll be honest, I wallowed in that for a while. Um, but then I thought, well, thank you, God, because you blessed me to be able to pay the $600 a month on top of the responsibilities I already had. Believe me, I wasn't like jumping over for joy for that, but I had to really shift my mindset and I had support and I had people around me who kind of talked me off the ledge a lot. But challenges can make you feel like you're losing control. And that's kind of how I felt. I felt like I was losing control of my life. The courts were basically dictating to me what I had to do. You got to sell your house, you got to pay him this money, you got to do this, you got to do that. And so for a moment, I really didn't have control over those things. The one thing that I did have control over was how I felt and how I reacted or responded to those decisions. And so for me, when those things happen, when challenges make you feel like you're losing control, I tend to make a plan. I tend to journal, and I have to like get my thoughts out and figure out what can I do to control some of what's happening. Again, it's really controlling your thoughts and controlling how you feel about it. Marie Forleo says everything is figure outable. Everything is figure outable. So pick yourself up and decide you want better, you want more, you have to decide. No one is going to make you get off of Facebook, scrolling, Instagram, TikTok. No one is going to make you stop binging on Netflix every night or TV all day. That's all on you. That's all on me. And no one is going to make you eat better. No one's going to make you get up and go to the gym and prepare or apply for that job. That is all on you. All of the things, all those things that do not get you closer to your goal. We talked about this when we covered Dr. Hardy's book. All the things that do not get you closer to your goals will take you further away from what it is you really want in your life. We call those the shiny object distractions. Distractions are disruptions to your life, as Dr. Bronner says. Those are the lesser goals. The lesser goals will take you further away from what you really want to accomplish in your life. And remember, you are the CEO of you. And then we talked about benchmark, right? What is your benchmark? Setting your own standard. He calls it setting a standard. No one is going to set your standards for you. When you don't set standards or benchmarks, you end up living life on default. Health is really the new wealth. I'm learning that in my older age because I realized, before COVID, I'm going to blame it on COVID. I exercised and I felt like I took better care of myself. And then COVID happened and gyms closed and, it's an excuse, right? Health is the new wealth. If you don't take the time to take care of yourself, again, if you want to go for a different job, all of the things that you need to do fall on you. If you want to write that book, I think most people have a computer. If not, you have a phone. There's a note app in your phone. Get to typing and tell your story. Nobody is going to read the books for you. Type the story for you, apply for the job that you want, make sure that you're taking the courses, doing what you need to do to upskill yourself. Okay, here's a story for you. I work in HR and the recruitment team was telling me about a guy who applied for the job. Now, he applied for the job. I've got to give him kudos and credit for doing that. How he applied for the job apparently is a little suspect because he had to interview for the job, right? It became really clear on his first day that he could not have applied for the job on his own. Because when he was set down at the computer, he picked up the mouse, this little thing here, and started rubbing it across the screen. And so it became very apparent he did not know how to turn the computer on. True story. Anyhow, only you can set a standard and follow through on what it is you want to do for you. And number 4, the last one, stop. Stop with excuses. I remember taking an HR course on attendance policy, and the instructor stated employees will be late and many of them will have really great reasons and great excuses. But a reason is still an excuse. Even if it's a good one, it's still an excuse. It doesn't matter. You're supposed to be somewhere at a certain time, and as responsible adults, the time, get up early, get to where you need to be. If you say you're going to do something, then you ought to do it. Keep your promises to yourself. Own up to it. And this is something that I struggle with too. I think I posted the other day, getting back into exercising and telling myself, laying my clothes out the night before and telling myself, you're going to do this because your future self, your future healthier self will thank your current self for doing that now. So for me, my future self I want to be healthy. I want to be able to walk and do the things that Rob and I enjoy doing. We both love to travel. If you've ever traveled through some of these airports, you know, if you have to go from one concourse to another, it's at least a 15-minute walk. So you really got to be able to move and just, you know, be in physical condition to be able to do the things that you want to do in life that brings you pleasure. But keep your promises to yourself, own up to it. And this is really, I mean, it's really all common sense. I'm not telling you guys something that you already don't know, but you know, sometimes we let ourselves off the hook and we'll say we don't have time. Well, we cannot manage time. The only thing that we can manage are the activities and the events. We all have the same 24 hours that God gives us. He gives all his children the same exact amount of dollars a day, right? If we use our hours as dollars, $24 a day, 24 hours a day we get. And so how you manage your activities within those 24 hours might be different than how I manage, but we all get the same amount of time. So having standards and structure in your life are tools to help you get to the next level. Having a daily routine, I think is really important. There's a book out called Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod. I highly recommend it if you have a challenge with keeping a routine. You're the only one in the way of your own success. You are the only one in the way of your success. So once you acknowledge that and own up to it, then you'll begin to make progress. There is no one, and I mean no one, who can change your mindset, change your life, but you. And once you realize that you are the CEO of YOU, and start to take responsibility for yourself, your tribe, your peeps, those who are all on the same trajectory will come out to support you. The people who love you and see that you're trying to do better will step up and support you. He says this, once you're working with yourself and set up against yourself, you will see that the only thing standing in the way of the rest of your life is you. So get out of your own way. So the work at the end of each of the chapters, and this is the end of this particular chapter, I'm going to give you the questions up front for the next chapter because I don't know about you, but I like to ponder and think about the questions to do the work so that there's no excuses. And sometimes it's hard. Sometimes the work is hard. I'll just be honest with you. But if you work hard, then you can play hard. So here are the questions. Are there times you feel like no one is there to support you? And if you feel that, then when you do, what's the trigger and how do you address that? And then who is your support system? Who is the one person that you can call anytime? Who is your support system? When you feel overwhelmed, what do you do? And if you don't embrace your emotions and how you can take the first step, one of the things that I learned when my mom passed away, my friend Christine said this to me. She was like, sister, you need to just feel what you feel. And I'll be honest with you, even at that stage in my life, it was like, oh yeah, I can feel what I feel because I always felt embarrassed about like allowing myself to feel the emotions. And now I'm much better at embracing those emotions and just feeling whatever it is. Do you ever get a chance to check yourself, check your thoughts? How do you check yourself or your thoughts or your feelings? Are you one of those people who, like me, just kind of shut down when you're clearly unhappy about something? You just kind of go silent, you withdraw. What are those thoughts? What are you thinking about? Make a list of those things and what you were thinking, then go back and change your thought about it. Change your thoughts, and then you can change how you feel. And then making sure that you put a plan of action in place when you feel like you're all alone. Make a list of the people whom you feel you can reach out to What kind of support do you need? What kind of support do you want? Do you need someone to just listen? Do you need someone to just give you advice or a hug or someone who will powwow with you? What do you need? You know, my girlfriend was looking for a coach. And, at one point, she did bring me into her life to help her coach. And then I realized that's probably not a real good idea for me to coach her. And here's the reason why. I could be a support system to her. I think I'm a pretty good support system. But I didn't think it was a good idea to coach her because I couldn't be objective. Like, I'm gonna get in the boat with her. Like, if somebody does her wrong, I'm like, yeah, let's lace up our shoes and let's go. So that's not being real objective. Being real objective is helping her to step back and take a look at the bigger picture or looking at it from a different perspective. And so you have to have somebody on your support system and you have to figure out what it is you need from that person. So do you need someone to just listen or someone to give you advice, a hug, or someone to powwow with you? Figure out what it is that you need and then make a list of those people and then use them. Regret nothing, make no excuses, work hard, play hard, live, love, and then laugh. Our final takeaways are the key takeaway. Again, your past, your current, your future, your past and your future are tools in their time. As current and in the present, learn from your past, but use your future to dictate the things that you'll do now so that you can become the person that you want to be right now. So my example that I gave you is I want to be healthier. And in order for me to be a healthier future Sandra, I've got to take the steps right now to do that. There is no glory or virtue in victimhood. You are the CEO of YOU. Get out of your own way and do the work. I like to practice thankfulness at the end of all my sessions. So if you're new to this group and you're new to me sharing these principles out of the books that I read, then I always end every session with gratefulness because there's always something to be thankful for. Research in psychology has shown that practicing gratitude can enhance your overall happiness, and I think it's true. So when we express gratitude, we're able to experience more positive emotions. We're able to savor the good moments in life. It improves our well-being. It helps us to cope with those challenges. So even though we might be having challenges during the week, there's always something to even be grateful for in the challenge. So when things happen that doesn't feel so great, you can look at it, go, wow, that wasn't like, I would not have wanted that to happen. But then you look at it and you go, you know what, it could have been so much worse. So being grateful for even those things that we think may not be ideal, and then cultivate meaningful relationships. Gratitude is, allowing us to just acknowledge the goodness already in our lives. So if you have meaningful relationships, continue to appreciate and acknowledge those relationships and just really being grateful and shifting our perspective. It allows us to see beyond our own individual needs and connect with something greater, whether it's people, whether it's, appreciating your fur babies, whether it's our relationship with God. So I would say practice gratitude every day. And I've shared this before. Rob and I, we have a gratitude alarm that goes off every night at 9 o'clock. And we always say what we're grateful for the things that happen during the day, because that also makes you think. You have to go back and think about your day and what it is that happened that day that you're grateful for. So let's start incorporating gratitude into our daily lives every single day. Put it on your calendar. You can do it in the morning, or even the evening, by the time that works for you, but practice gratitude every single day. If you want to connect with me, you can do so right here on Facebook. You can also send me an email, but probably the easier way is probably just to connect with me through Messenger or send me a comment. So I don't know, are there any questions? Don't know if there's any questions on here. All right, guys. Well, I am going to end our session. I can't see if there's any comments, but if you have comments, please feel free to place those in the bottom, and any questions I will answer for you. Otherwise, I hope that you guys have a beautiful Saturday, and I will talk to you soon. Take care. Bye. Oh, I couldn't see people. I couldn't see people. I couldn't see them. I gotta figure this out. Huh? One of the things I wanted to mention about Dr. Hardy's book, um, for several weeks, we did 7 weeks. Um, uh, Be your future self now. All right, I gotta figure this out. Mm. You all right, love bug? I gotta figure this out because I like to show my PowerPoints, but they can't see my PowerPoints because,
Facebook.
yeah, they changed the whole platform and I've got to figure out how to fix it.
Do a search, I show PowerPoint, Facebook Live.
Well, it says try creating a live video event for your next broadcast. Try creating a live video event. On YouTube?
Google. How to.
Groups. I can do it on my personal page. They changed the platform and the group setting. Okay,
Specifically if you want.
okay. To share a Zoom call in a Facebook group, you can enable. Oh, okay, I gotta go to my Zoom. Hold on, let me try that. Oh, I gotta turn this off.